Masonite store, which was established up in Dummerston, Vermont in 1810. And as you can see by the 1830s, Judge Knight has quite the thriving business, carrying all manner of goods for folks in the community. Affordable goods, I should say. So Judge Knight is not in the habit of keeping things on the shelves too long if he can help it. So everything you see in here would have been affordable to folks in the community. And this evening we're talking about some of my favorite things in the entire world, the lusterware ceramics. And these are certainly things that you would have found on Judge Knight's shelves. In the 1830s, they have gained popularity here in New England in the early 1800s and continue on in popularity in the mid and late 19th century as well. And one of the main reasons why they have become so popular is because of the lovely way that they catch the light and how sort of decorative and fancy they look on your table. The technique of lusterware goes way, way, way back. So this is not an old, or a new technique rather. It starts to show up in the area of Mesopotamia and the Middle East as of the 9th century. And then by the 1100s and 1200s, it's made its way into Spain. And then finally 1500s and later, you start to see Italy becoming quite the producer of luster. The 1800s see the luster technique moving into England, in particular the area of Staffordshire, where a lot of our ceramics are coming from. So all of the dishes that you see behind me, 99.9% of those have been imported from that area in England, but fairly affordable by our time period as well, as we mentioned. So the techniques have changed a little bit, but still the basics remain the same from the early luster to the 1800s luster, and that's a two-step technique. So the first step is going to be firing the main body and any glaze and decoration. The second glaze and firing is when that lusterware gets applied at a lower temperature in an enameling kiln. So just enough to melt the luster glaze and create that beautiful sheen and metallic surface. The lusterware glaze is actual metal, granted very, very minute quantities of it, metallic oxides that have been dissolved in aqua regia, which is nitric acid and hydrochloric acid, and sometimes other additives too, to either change its consistency to make it paintable or sometimes to alter the color slightly. What I find very amusing, the silver you would expect would be silver oxide, but it's actually platinum. So as of the early 1800s, they have developed a technique in Staffordshire, England, to use minute quantities of platinum to mimic the qualities of silver. So I find it very amusing that they're taking a more expensive metal to make it look like a less expensive metal, but it's still cheaper to buy this than it is to buy the silver teapot. And it's quite, especially from afar, quite convincing. Obviously, when you pick it up and hold it, you will know that it is not real silver, it is ceramic, but on your table it's going to look quite lovely. The other metal that's being used in our time period is gold, again in very minute quantities, and depending on what you add to it, the gold will give you a range of pinks and purples, golds, the copper, and even oranges, so really quite the rainbow of colors that can be gotten from the gold luster. Sometimes you are using the under decoration to kind of show through a little bit and alter the color. So there are a lot of different ways that you can decorate these luster pieces. This one obviously is completely coated with the luster glaze, just sometimes inside and out. This one, indeed, you can see is luster on the inside as well. So very simple, very easy to do. This one is just little bits picked out. I don't know if you can see the luster at the rim there, and on the finial, and a little bit on the handle and the teapot spout. So for those who do not love the shininess of the entirely lustered pieces, this just gives you a little glimpse on your table, so a very modest amount of shininess. And then one of my favorites here is this beautiful copper and cobalt blue. And this was done with a technique that's very common in printing fabrics as well, resist technique. So the body would be glazed with this beautiful cobalt blue, and then where you didn't want the luster to be, you would put a sizing or some kind of glue that would resist the luster glaze. That can then be removed after the glaze dries, and what you're left with is just the luster in certain areas. And then after that they took off the sizing, they actually painted a little bit of additional luster decoration over the cobalt blue to give it a little more contrast as well. So lots of different techniques for applying the glaze. So it will give you a variety of different effects. I will say there are a few caveats to lusterware. We tend to find it in our collection largely in shall we say, things that are not used very heavily. The luster can be a little bit delicate. Because it is real metal in the glaze, it will tarnish like real metal, which is one of the reasons why I'm wearing gloves. These are all pieces from our collection, and I do not want to leave my fingerprints on them. So you want to keep them polished and in good order. And the other thing too is the glaze is very thin and prone to scratching. So if you have any little ones around the house who love to play with shiny things, maybe you put these up on a taller shelf. So there are a few sort of inherent vices in the materials used, but the upside is, compared to especially the real metal, they are going to be much, much more affordable. You do find that they are largely going to be decorative pieces or pieces that are used for special occasions, shall we say. So teapots and tea services, certainly pitchers, ceramic creamers, plaques, serving plates, but not really dinner services and kind of heavy use things for every day. If you're looking for everyday dishes, I have some of those behind me as well. You also find that folks in the 19th century are not necessarily always purchasing a full tea set too. So you'll find that maybe you just buy a teapot and you make do with the other pieces that you have from other tea sets. You might buy just the main pieces. So this one actually came to us with the teapot, the creamer, and the sugar, but nothing else. This one came to us as the full tea set, so you can certainly buy a full tea set matching as well. This one came with the tea caddy, the slop bowl, the serving dishes, the teacups, the saucers, everything, and it's quite extensive and beautiful. So depending on what your needs are and what your economic willing to spend, shall we say, would be, there are a lot of different options for you. The luster really is something that holds popularity through the 19th century. So you do find that folks are using it mid-19th century, late 19th century. And even today you'll find the luster glaze on, especially art pieces. So it's quite a lovely technique. So I invite everybody to come and take a closer look if they'd like to. Any questions?